Hi everyone, welcome to episode 10 of Let's Talk Mental Health. We're beginning a series that will be directly focusing on the different types of mental and behavioral disorders. As promised, we have our very first guest today. And our guest is a PhD holder. He's a clinical psychologist who resides in Illinois, USA, and he will be teaching us today about intellectual developmental disorder. Let's welcome Dr. Theo Moore.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Theo Moore. I am a clinical psychologist in California and Illinois. And today I would like to talk about intellectual developmental disorder or intellectual disability disorder or intellectual disorder. I will use it with ID. That's just the name for short that people use. And we will discuss certain characteristics of ID and then discuss treatment planning and go from there. Please, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information at the end, and I'll be hoping to answer or field any questions that you may have. But let's get started. So intellectual developmental disorder or intellectual disability, it is a neurodevelopmental disorder. So what I mean by neurodevelopmental disorder is that it is a disorder that occurs in childhood, and there is a genetic component, and then it causes impairments in personal, social, academic, and or occupational functioning. So it may look like difficulty understanding concepts, difficulty understanding work assignments, classroom assignments, or how to do a basic job. Okay. For some, it may even lead to inability to speak because there weren't enough mechanisms in their brain to understand and comprehend language. Okay. So let's talk about some certain characteristics of ID. Okay, the first one is deficits in intellectual functioning based on clinical assessment and standardized intelligence tests. So those of us who like to diagnose ourselves through TikTok, through Facebook, through Google, for intellectual disability specifically, you need an individualized standard intelligence test and clinical assessment to meet that diagnosis. And from that basis, you get that diagnosis and you receive certain level of services and academic and or social support. Okay. And then there are deficits in social responsibility and reciprocity. So those of us who have been diagnosed with ID have difficulty really understanding how to function in social settings, right? They don't have the ability to know what is normal or what is common for people to reciprocate relationships with others. And lastly, ID can be, there are specifiers for ID. There's mild, moderate, severe, and profound, right? Based on the number of symptoms that someone has, really puts them in each of those specifiers, okay? While most people are able to live with a certain level of independence, most with ID have difficulty with their own activities of daily living and require the need of a caregiver. Okay. And for intellectual developmental disorder, individuals have a strong genetic component, like I mentioned earlier, with a lot of cases being due to faulty chromosomes. The most common ID is Down syndrome or trisomy 21, when there is an abnormal or deletion of pairs on your chromosomes. And that is the most common type of ID. There's also Fragile X syndrome, which occurs in one gender more than the other gender. So let me know if you have any questions or comments regarding ID. ID is a difficult disability to live with, and for some of us who are relatives or caregivers for those who have ID, it can be even more difficult. So let's talk about treatment planning. Based on the severity of the diagnosis, treatment can look very different for each individual with ID. Generally, individual will do individual psychotherapy and or group psychotherapy to just understand their own emotions as well as the emotions of others, especially in a group format where individuals will be in a group with others who have intellectual disability. For others, it might also look like skill building and workshops just to learn how to do basic academic and activities of daily living, from learning how to fold clothes and make your bed to also cooking as well as cleaning.
I hope we learned something new today. And that's about it for today's episode. I'm Reverend M. Smallwood, a clinical social worker. Remember, an informed mind leads to a changed behavior. Until our next episode, adios.